Duffley and Jeff Hughes. I now call for hearing docket number E2 sub 1300, which is the application of Duke Energy Progress LLC or DEP for an adjustment of rates and charges applicable to electric utility service in North Carolina. As I'm required to do by the State Government Ethics Act, I remind members of the Commission of our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and inquire at this time if any commissioner has a known conflict with respect to the matters coming before us this evening. All right, the record will reflect no conflicts have been identified, so we will proceed. In late 2021, legislation authorizing the performance-based regulation of electric public utilities operating in North Carolina was enacted by the General Assembly and signed into law by the governor. This legislation, which I'll refer to as House Bill 951, established an alternative rate-making approach that involves, among other things, a multi-year rate plan. Under this new rate-making approach, a general base rate revenue requirement is established using traditional rate-making principles. Then each rate year of the multi-year plan involves a step-up increase.
Enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound.
Under this new rate-making approach, a general base rate revenue requirement is established using traditional rate-making principles. Then each rate year of the multi-year plan involves a step-up increase that reflects the proposed investments that will be put into service during the course of that rate year. The legislation limits a multi-year rate plan to 3 years and limits the amount of the step-up increase in each of rate years 2 and 3. On October 6th, 2022, DEP filed its application to adjust retail base rates, as well as a request for an accounting order, along with the direct testimony and exhibits of 22 witnesses supporting its application. By its application, DEP seeks approval from the Commission in accordance with House Bill 951 to implement, for the first time, performance-based regulation and a 3-year rate plan. DEP's application requests an increase of 6.6% to the general base rate revenues, plus an additional 3.1% in rate year 1, 4.3% in rate year 2, and 4.0% in rate year 3. DEP does propose to offset its requested increase with certain excess federal tax revenue dollars currently held by the company. DEP explains that customers should benefit from this new rate-making approach in several ways, including fewer rate cases and rate certainty over the next several years as the company enters a period of time in which it plans to make significant capital investment in its system. The company explains that the new rate-making approach includes other customer protections, such as an earnings sharing mechanism and performance incentive mechanisms that are intended to encourage the types of performance about which customers care. Based on the increases proposed, DEP's application explains that a typical residential customer using 1,000 kilowatt hours of electricity per month will see an increase of approximately $14.72 per month in rate year 1. This amount will increase by approximately $5.62 per month in rate year 2 and $5.21 per month in rate year 3. In the event the Commission does not approve DEP's request to use performance-based regulation in a multi-year plan, but instead applies traditional rate-making principles to DEP's request, then a typical residential customer using 1,000 kilowatt hours a month will see a base rate increase of approximately $9.89 per month in its base rates until the next general rate case. DEP states that its request to increase rates is driven by investments that it has made since its 2019 rate case, including investments in existing nuclear plants to enhance safety, reliability, and efficiency over their extended life operations, new investments in traditional and renewable generation, as well as in energy storage, investments to maintain remaining coal-fired generation and hydroelectric generation, ongoing work to retire and close certain coal-fired generating units, and work to upgrade the transmission and distribution systems to be more reliable, resilient, and supportive of renewable technologies. On October 31st, 2022, the Commission issued an order establishing general rate case and suspending rates. On December 16th, 2022, the Commission issued an order scheduling investigation and hearings, establishing intervention and testimony due dates, as well as discovery guidelines. The December 16th order also requested that DEP provide notice of its request to increase its rates to its customers by mailing each of its customers notice of the rate increase and by publishing notice of the request in the newspaper. On December 21st, 2022, the Commission issued an order revising the dates of the public witness hearings. The Commission has scheduled several hearings in person at locations around the state for the purpose of receiving testimony from public witnesses addressing the proposed rate increase. The hearing tonight, which we're holding remotely, has been scheduled for this same purpose. The Commission has also scheduled a hearing to begin on May 1st in Raleigh for the purpose of receiving testimony from the expert witnesses of the parties to this proceeding. The public staff, which represents the using and consuming public, has been made a party to this case pursuant to North Carolina General Statute Section 62-15, and the Attorney General's office has intervened in this case in accordance with North Carolina General Statute Section 62-20. In addition to the public staff and the Attorney General's office, the following parties have petitioned to and have been allowed to intervene in this proceeding: the Carolina Industrial Group for Fair Utility Rates 2, Carolina Utility Customer Association, Inc., North Carolina Justice Center, the North Carolina Housing Coalition, the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, the North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association, Vote Solar, the Natural Resources Defense Council, Sierra Club, the Commercial Group, the Kroger Company, Harris Teeter, LLC, Fayetteville Public Works Commission, the Department of Defense, and all other federal executive agencies jointly, as well as Haywood EMC. That brings us to tonight. We appreciate your coming here to voice your views on DEP's proposed rate increase, and we welcome your testimony tonight, and we want to hear from you. In conducting this hearing, the Commission functions in a judicial capacity as we're required to do by North Carolina law. We largely follow the North Carolina Rules of Civil Procedure and Rules of Evidence. Because the Commission functions as a court, we cannot respond to your questions. Rather, we're here to receive evidence from you all in the form of your testimony. In this proceeding, the public staff, which represents the using and consuming public, will assist you all in providing your testimony. In order to facilitate a full and fair opportunity for speakers to participate, we'll use the following procedures. First, public witnesses will be appearing by audio connection only. Commissioners and attorneys will be appearing by video and audio connection. Any public witnesses that wish to view a live video of the proceeding may do so by accessing E-2, which is linked from the Commission's home webpage. However, please be sure to mute your computer when you're called to testify to avoid any feedback. This hearing is being transcribed by a court reporter, and it's critical that we limit all interference with her ability to hear me and those of you who are testifying. In order to allow each person an equal amount of time, there'll be a limit of 3 minutes for each witness to speak. Third, public witnesses will be called on to testify in the order that you all have called in. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted by the WebEx administrator. You'll hear 2 beeps on your phone line indicating that you've been unmuted, and at that time, I will ask that the witness state his or her name. Because we observe the North Carolina Rules of Civil Procedure and Evidence, I will first ask you to affirm your testimony before you begin to testify. Once you have affirmed, I will ask you to state your name and address for the record and to confirm whether you are a DEP customer. To ensure that this hearing runs as efficiently as possible, please pay close attention during the course of the hearing and be ready to respond as soon as you hear the beeps unmuting your phone line. Counsel for any party may ask questions of the witnesses tonight. And in addition, the Commission will have the opportunity to ask witnesses questions as well. This means that if you provide testimony, you may be asked questions, so please be prepared. Please be prepared for that. As a final reminder, the commissioners and attorneys for the parties are not allowed to respond to your questions during the hearing. However, I encourage you all to reach out to the public staff should you have any questions following this proceeding. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to call upon counsel to identify themselves for the record, and we will begin with the applicant, DEP.
Good evening, Chair Mitchell, Commissioners. My name is Kathleen Richards, Senior Counsel, appearing on behalf of Duke Energy Progress.
Good evening, Ms. Richards. All right, public staff.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Keyworth. I'm a staff attorney with the public staff. And Chair Mitchell, is now the time to describe the public staff's duties in a little bit more detail?
Let's let Duke go first, Ms. Keyworth, and provide an opening statement if Duke so wishes, and then I will let the public staff provide its opening remarks as well. Just to confirm, are there any other counsel present tonight, either for Duke, the public staff, or any other party? Okay, I'm not hearing anyone. Okay. All right, Duke, would you like to make some opening remarks?
Yes, we do have an opening statement prepared. Company Representative Kathy Lowe will be providing.
All right, Ms. Lowe, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Mitchell and Commissioners. My name is Kathy Lowe, and I'm a Regulatory Affairs Manager for Duke Energy. We appreciate you as well as our customers being here this evening. We know that several customers have signed up to speak, and we're here to listen. We do have a team of representatives attending this evening as well. So if there are any customers who have questions or concerns about operations, energy efficiency, billing, or any other topic, we will take down that customer's information and follow up as soon as possible after the meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lowe. Ms. Keyworth?
Thank you, Chair Mitchell. Again, my name is Ann Keyworth. I'm a staff attorney with the Public Staff. The Public Staff is an independent state agency that represents the using and consuming public, which is you, in matters before the Utilities Commission. The Public Staff has been auditing Duke Energy Progress's operations and its rate increase application. We have a team of engineers, accountants, economists, and attorneys investigating Duke's request for an increase and reviewing their records and operations. We filed our testimony and exhibits setting out our position regarding the requested increase on March 27th, and those are available on the online docket system. Other documents related to this case are also available on the online docket system. The purpose of this hearing is to hear from customers like yourselves regarding the requested rate increase. We'll call each of you who have indicated or who have previously signed up that you wish to make a statement. When your name is called, as Chair Mitchell has explained, you'll be sworn and affirmed, and then you'll be asked your name, address, and whether you're a Duke Energy Progress customer. We ask that you speak clearly so that the court reporter can make an accurate record of your statement. We appreciate you coming out tonight for this public hearing. If you have any questions about the requested increase, we do have members of the public staff who are listening in tonight and who would be happy to speak with you about this rate case increase if you would like. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. We appreciate your time and are looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
All right, thank you, Ms. Keyworth. With that, we will get started. Please unmute the first witness.
Hello, this is Michael Riggy. I live at 404 Troycott Place. Would you mind confirming you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but before you get started, let me deliver I need you to affirm your testimony, please, sir. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It is. It will be, correct.
Okay, perfect. So please state your name again for the record and your address, and confirm for us whether you are a DEP customer.
Yeah, my name is Michael Riggy. That's R-I-G-H-I. I live at 404 Troycott Place in Cary, North Carolina, and I am a Duke Energy Progress customer.
Okay, you may proceed.
All right. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I live in Cary with my wife, my 2 young kids. We're about 10 miles north of the Harris nuclear reactor. I've been a residential Duke Energy customer since I moved here about 4 years ago. I had solar panels installed on my roof about 3 years ago. They cover about 50% of my bill. Even with those panels on the roof, my average bill over the course of the last 12 months has been about $150 a month. I understand with these proposed rate increases that my bill would go up to somewhere around $170 a month. Also want to say I don't own any stock in Duke Energy. I don't know anybody that works for them. I'm not affiliated with any companies or groups that might stand to benefit from a rate increase. Nobody invited me to speak today. I found this via Google search about a month ago. And I say all that because although I don't typically like my bill going up for anything, I actually support these proposed rate increases because I think it's important that we invest in the electric grid. I think the electric grid is the most incredible invention that humans have ever built. It's safe, reliable, resilient, relatively cheap considering what it does for us, and it's something that most of us take for granted every time we flip a switch. I think we've been spoiled in North Carolina with low electric rates, currently around 12 cents per kilowatt hour. My mom lives in Southern California. She's paying over 23 cents per kilowatt hour. I have an uncle in upstate New York who's paying about 20 cents per kilowatt hour. Even with these proposed rate increases, we'd still be spoiled with very reasonable rates compared to other states. I think it's important we invest in the grid because as much as we expect of, of the grid today, we're going to be demanding even more of it in the future. I have a gas furnace for the first floor of my house. I'm very eager in the next year or two to be replacing that with an electric heat pump. And I know many of my neighbors are also eager to replace their gas furnaces with heat pumps. I honestly can't tell you how many times the topic of heat pumps have come up in conversation recently with my neighbors. Once that happens, I'm going to be shutting off the gas to my house and going full electric. Also, I currently have one fully electric car. I ordered a second fully electric car, which should be arriving early next year. So, my dependence on the grid is only going to increase going forward. I think we're in the early stages of a home electrification push, which is going to be increasing the demand that we place on the grid and our dependency on it over the next, 10, 20 years. Also, with extreme weather events becoming more common, I think Duke Energy is going to have a more challenging, situation ahead as there's more demand with, more uncertainty. And so that said, with, inflation the way it is, I would be concerned if we were not increasing these rates, that we would be underinvesting in the grid. And again, as much as I typically don't like my bills to go up, I think it's important that we invest in the grid. And, I want to make sure North Carolina is not falling behind where we need to be prepared for the future. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir, for your comments. Let me see if there are questions for you from the company.
No questions.
All right. Public staff.
No questions. Thank you for your testimony tonight.
All right. Any questions from commissioners?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir. You may be dismissed. We appreciate your testimony tonight. Just for the record, we have been joined by Commissioner Floyd McKissick. All right. If you would, please unmute the next witness.
Chair Mitchell, there's been a couple of problems. Some people are having problems getting in. We're working on it right now. That's why there's a
Okay.
little bit of a delay.
Okay.
So we're working with them behind the scenes, so it's taking a minute.
Okay.
For some
we will
reason,
sit-
some people are having problems in it. I've tried the number. It has worked for me. We are trying to send a couple of different alternate numbers, and we're hoping that will work. It might be just a couple of minutes delay, if that's okay.
Okay. We will sit tight. We will be in recess until John, I hear from you again.
Okay, great. Chair Mitchell, we do have 2 callers waiting.
Am I back on? Are we back on? Okay, perfect. All right, let's go back on the record, please. And if you would, unmute the next caller.
Hello?
Hello.
All right, good evening. If you would, please, ma'am, state your name.
Hello, yes. My name is Reagan McGuinn.
Okay. Do you affirm testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, please proceed by stating your name and spelling your name for the record, providing your address, and confirming whether you are a DEP customer.
Hello, yes. So my name is Reagan McGuinn. That's REAGAN MC capital GUINN. And my address is 1303 Meadston Drive, Durham, North Carolina 27712. And yes, I am a Duke Energy customer.
All right, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, my name is Reagan McGuinn, and I'm a student at NC State University. I'm in my junior year, and I am studying conservation biology and political science. And I'm here today to ask you to reject Duke Energy's proposal to raise North Carolina energy bills. Thank you in advance for your time and for your consideration. And so when it comes to both the cost for North Carolinians and the cost for the planet, Duke Energy's proposal is unacceptable to me. College students across the state, such as myself, are facing the repercussions of inflation in every aspect of their lives. Groceries, gas, and rent are already expensive, and the prices continue to rise. We cannot afford higher energy bills, and if we can't, then North Carolina's low-income communities certainly cannot afford them either. As a conservation biology student, I learn about the effects of climate change on not only the world's ecosystems, but also the world's communities every day. It's no secret that the use of fossil fuels releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and causes air pollution, water pollution, and land degradation. Fossil fuels destroy the habitats of species that are crucial to North Carolina's ecosystems and economy, and the pollution they create can cause a number of health issues for North Carolina residents. Time is running out to solve the climate crisis, and Duke Energy's continued use of fossil fuels reduces that time even more. We should be prioritizing people and the planet over convenience and profit. Duke Energy's proposal is detrimental to the people of North Carolina and our environment. I refuse to ignore this, and I'm asking the North Carolina Utilities Commission to do the same. Please recognize the harm that this plan will cause and reject it. We simply cannot afford higher energy bills or the cost of using fossil fuels. Okay, thank you again for your time.
All right, thank you, Ms. McGuinn. Let me see if there are questions for you from the company,
No questions.
from the public staff.
No questions. Thank you for your testimony.
All right, commissioners. All right, there are no questions from commissioners, so Ms. McGuinn, you may be excused. Thank you very much for your testimony tonight.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, if you would, unmute the next witness, please.
Hello,
Good evening. If you would, please state your name.
my name is Ruby Bell.
All right, do you affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please state and spell your name for the record, provide your address, and confirm for us whether you are a DEP customer.
My name is Ruby Bell, RUBYBELL. I live in Sampson County. I am not a Duke Energy customer. I am here on behalf of my mother, Hilda Acock, who is a Duke Energy customer.
Okay, you may proceed.
Okay. I'm speaking, of course, tonight on behalf of my elderly mother, who is a widow, who receives services, of course, from Duke Energy. My mom is 90 years old and on a limited fixed income. With that income, she has other obligations to meet, as I'm sure others do. For example, other utilities, she has water, she has gas, she has medicine, she has property taxes, homeowners insurance, and groceries, and I'm sure you understand. Research shows that 50% of widowed adults don't have enough money to cover basic financial needs. And the average cost of living and the average Social Security benefits, as my mother is on, are not equal, so it's already hard for them to break even. My mother's income is well below the North Carolina poverty level. Therefore, I am asking that Duke Energy reject the rate hike. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bell. Let me see if there are questions for you from the company,
No questions, thank you.
public staff.
No questions, thank you.
All right, commissioners.
No questions.
All right, Ms. Bell, you may be excused. Thank you very much for your testimony tonight.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. All right, next witness, please.
Hello.
Good evening, ma'am. Would you please state your name?
My name is Kay Rebold.
All right, do you affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, please state and spell your name for the record. Let us know your address and confirm for us whether you are a DEP customer.
Yes, my name is Kay Rebold, Kayreei, B as in boy, OLD as in David. I'm a resident of Raleigh. My address is 4108 Yates Mill Pond Road, and I'm a Duke Energy Progress customer.
All right, you may proceed.
I'm here tonight to urge the Utilities Commission to reject Duke Energy's request for a rate increase. This rate increase would create untold hardship on low-income families struggling to pay household bills. Suffering, that is what this rate hike would cause. Suffering. For many, the more money spent on a utility bill to keep the heat on in the winter months means less money for food on the table. You, commissioners, have an opportunity to do what is morally right, and that is to reject Duke's request. Why should Duke Energy Progress be rewarded with funds for its dirty and destructive carbon plan instead of developing an energy efficient, reliable, climate-friendly infrastructure? Ratepayers should not be expected to pay the maintenance costs for outdated coal and gas plants that we've seen in the Christmas blackouts to be unreliable in climate emergencies. Please, commissioners, listen. Really listen to what you are hearing from those testifying today and tonight. Listen not just with your ears, but with your hearts, and reject this immoral and unjust request for a rate hike. Find your courage. Use your power. Take a stand and do what is right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Let me see if there are questions from the company,
No questions, thank you.
from public staff.
No questions, thank you for your testimony.
All right, commissioners. All right, there are no questions for you, so you are excused. Thank you very much for your testimony tonight.
Thank you.
All right, next witness, please.
Hello?
Good evening, sir. Would you please state your name?
Yeah, my name is Dr. Stephen Norris. I live at 372 Sharon Road in Fairview, North Carolina. I am a Duke Energy Progress customer.
All right. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, of course.
All right. You may proceed.
I am here tonight to oppose this rate increase, this 18%, $623 million rate increase that Duke has asked for. I do want to thank the Utilities Commission for its public testimony. I've been very involved with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in Washington, and they discourage almost all public testimony. I think North Carolina Utilities Commission is doing a good job in soliciting public testimony. What the Utilities Commission is not doing well is to listen to the people of North Carolina. And it is shown most clearly in the Utilities Commission acceptance of a carbon plan, the carbon plan that was adopted on December 31st of 2022, a week after one of the worst failures of Duke Energy in the history of North Carolina. It seems implausible to me, if not outrageously bad, that the Utilities Commission would consider an 18% rate increase after having after Duke having had a problem like it had at Christmas time. I also am incredibly upset that the carbon plan is a plan essentially to produce more carbon, put more carbon into the atmosphere, and in the process increase the global warming that we have experienced in catastrophic ways all over the earth, but in North Carolina as well in recent superstorms. The carbon plan, of course, does require Duke to transition from coal to gas, but that just means more fossil fuel consumption and more fossil fuel emission, or carbon emission. And we all know that that is not a good thing for the earth and for the climate right now. And also the carbon plan, which we are being asked to pay for with $643 million, actually sets limits on the amount of renewable solar and wind power that can be installed in North Carolina. I personally cannot think of a more egregious plan for North Carolina at this point in our history when global warming is coming right at us, and where the head of the United Nations, where the International Panel on Climate Change, where the IEA are all saying we have got to stop this madness of transitioning to more fossil fuels, including gas. Now, of course, Duke says gas is a clean form of energy. We all know that that's a lie. So we are being asked in this rate hike to pay for a disaster which is already occurring, but which is clearly about to get worse. That is shameful. And for the Utilities Commission to rubber stamp, as it did, the carbon plan, which it rubber stamped in December, is outrageous. I would love it if the members of the Utilities Commission would stand up to Duke in the way three mostly young state legislators in Tennessee stood up to the Republican majority in the legislature and said, we have got to deal with gun violence. Climate change is a lot like gun violence, although it does not discriminate in quite the same way gun violence does. But here we have an example which has been applauded all over the country. And I assume the commissioners and the public staff also, many of you, applauded what Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson did in standing up to the Republicans in the Nashville state legislature who refused to consider gun violence in
All right,
the
Dr. Norris, you've run past your 3 minutes, sir. Please wrap it up.
It is time that the Utilities Commission found some backbone, stood up to Duke Energy, stood up to the Republican majority in the legislature, and did the right thing and denied this rate hike. Thank you very much.
All right, let me see if there are questions for you from the company.
No questions, thank you.
Public staff?
No questions. Thank you for your
All
testimony.
right. Commissioners, questions for the witness? All right, thank you very much for your testimony tonight. You may be excused.
Thank you.
All right, next witness, please.
Hello?
Yes, do you affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, if you would please state and spell your name for the record, let us know your address, and confirm for us whether you are a DEP customer.
It's Sean Lewis, Seanlewis. My address is 640 Firebrook Drive, Cary, North Carolina, and yes, I am.
All right, you may proceed.
Imagine for a moment that we were responding to a rate hike request from a utility company that cared about its customers and about the land those customers called home. A utility company that had vowed to do everything in its power to provide affordable, clean energy once the causes and effects of climate change were identified back in the 1970s. And I mean really clean, not fracked gas, bio, pretend clean. The fact that the green energy revolution did not happen in the 70s is somewhat understandable, given the propensity for humanity to ignore looming disasters. But it is not understandable now. And the fact that the worst forms of energy for us are also horrendous for our planet is not rocket science. It's common sense. I am not choosing between paying my Duke bill or feeding my family, as many of my fellow North Carolinians are. But I and all ratepayers are not given a choice, because our utility company is a monopoly. So by paying our electric monopoly, we are also destroying our possibility for a future safe from weather extremes and catastrophes. By paying Duke Energy, we are also polluting the air and contributing to millions of premature deaths a year globally. What is the opposite of having your cake and eating it too? Being given a choice between poison and poison. Looking to the not too distant future, why will I pay Duke, with your acquiescence, to build even more fracked gas plants? Because they're reliable? Well, Christmas Eve proved otherwise. Because gas is safe? Well, pay no attention to those explosions or heightened asthma rates in gas-powered homes. Because fracked gas is cheap? Quite the opposite. High prices plus volatility is not my idea of prudent planning. Not when the fuels for wind and solar power still have come in at close to zero. Because gas plants are inexpensive? No. If they were inexpensive, Duke would not be interested. They are expensive and profitable, but only to Duke Energy. I thank you in advance for taking a stand against tyranny. Let's all wake up and stop swallowing poison. Let's work hard to give ourselves some healthy choices. Please reject their plan. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lewis, for your testimony. Let me see if there are questions for you from either the company or public staff.
No questions, thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, questions for the witness? All right, Mr. Lewis, thank you very much for your testimony tonight. You are excused.
Thank you.
Chair Mitchell, it's my understanding that that was the last witness.
Okay. We will then, we have come to the end of the hearing for this evening. Thank you, everybody, for your testimony tonight and for your participation. And with that, we will be adjourned. Let's go off the record, please.